Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240, 92.7 FM, plugged with Keon Rose. That's the show. New Radio Station, newradio.com is our website. You can access for all of our programs 24/7, as well as our social media. We, Chattanooga, are here for you. It's talking season. That's the time of year that this is, where we are close enough to college football to taste it, but not actually there. It's everyone's favorite, least favorite season, right? You know that it's close enough to touch, but you're not actually there yet. And the big thing that comes with talking season, the most important thing that comes with talking season, the obligatory thing that comes with talking season, are lists. Lists make up the majority of talking season. It's what we yammer on about. And we finally have a couple of lists. The ESPN Top 25 came out, as well as the Amway Coaches Poll. And I'm really mostly concerned with the SEC teams on that list. Because there's four SEC teams on the ESPN poll, and there are six SEC teams on the Amway Coaches Poll. And including a couple teams that I didn't think were going to make it, right? So let's start with the ESPN poll, because the ESPN poll has Alabama number 1, Auburn 11, 14 is Florida, 17 is Georgia. And what that tells me is the preference for Florida over Georgia, as well as the preference for Auburn over LSU on the ESPN poll. Now, I think it's kind of egregious that the ESPN poll doesn't have LSU on the list at all. LSU is going to be a very good football team this year. And certainly, when you have teams like Washington State who are going to be decent, right? I don't think that Stanford's going to be better than LSU this year. Stanford's going to be really good, but LSU is a better football team, I think. Understandably, the quarterback position at LSU is not very trendy. It's not very sexy. I understand it. But Darius Geis is a monster. That defense is great. Matt Canada's going to have the offense moving, okay? Maybe they're not going to reach the heights that they're going to reach under him just yet, but that offense is going to move. And I am not one of these people who thinks that Danny Etling is a quarterback that can't play. He's not going to be the best quarterback in the league. He's not going to be considered a top quarterback in the country, but it doesn't matter because he's a game manager, and he's really, really good at being a game manager. I don't know if you watched any LSU games last year, but Danny Etling didn't play them out of any games, right? Danny Etling ain't saving you if you're not having a good game. But Danny Etling did not lose LSU any games. Like, now he's a senior. Like, why would you expect that to become worse? Danny Etling is legitimately a solid quarterback. So to not have LSU in the top 25, I think that ESPN's goofing up a bit here, which brings me to the coaches poll. The coaches poll that has Alabama number 1, LSU number 12, Auburn 13, Georgia 15, Florida 16, and Tennessee at 24. Tennessee made the top 25 of the coaches poll, which I think is a little bit surprising in large part because of the way that I think the media especially believes Tennessee to be on a down year. And not just a down year, but a down year that could be so devastating, so backwards that you could actually see a situation where the coach gets fired. That's the down year that we're talking about for Tennessee, according to some people. But those people would be the people in the media. The coaches apparently see this very, very differently. And I tend to trust the coaches more on this. They're the ones that coach against each other and have these opinions. Granted, the coaches' polls aren't perfect, and I've heard, we've all heard the rumors about how coaches don't have time to fill out the polls, so they get family members and so on. But I'm still more inclined to choose and believe the coaches poll over the 4-letter poll, which features LSU not only on the list, but the best SEC school not named Alabama on it, and above Auburn, which gives me it's the Auburn LSU problem that we have in the SEC, because someone's got to challenge Alabama this year. It's got to be Auburn or it's got to be LSU, and the belief that it's LSU is the belief that LSU is a better, more well-rounded team moving in a positive direction. We're going to have a full season of Ed Orgeron. They brought in Matt Canada to be the offensive coordinator. They are going to be solid. And it's a matter of choosing the solid school versus the school with the most upside, which is to say that Auburn has more upside than LSU. And Auburn can reach greater heights than LSU can because of Jarrett Stidham. If Jarrett Stidham is truly the answer at quarterback. Because if he is the answer at quarterback, Auburn is talented enough at skill positions and defense that they can truly challenge Alabama also. And I would say have the inside track over LSU. I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to Auburn on this one. I really do believe Jarrett Stidham helps them a ton. And I'm not always more of an upside guy, but I take upside. I do. I take potential over I know what you are, and what you are is okay. Right? It's a potential versus consistency problem. Right? And it's interesting that the coaches went that way with LSU and Auburn because they went the other way with Georgia and Florida. Right? Georgia's ranked number 15. And Florida is 16, which is to say that the coaches believe that Georgia has more in the way of winning the East than Florida does, even though you could argue Florida is consistently the better team. They have the longer tenured coach. Florida could just come out here and win this, right? Malik Zaire, Felipe Franks, they've got to choose between one of those two guys at quarterback. But when they choose, they're going to be choosing a quality guy for the first time in a while. Florida's got options at quarterback, right? But Florida doesn't have as high a ceiling, I don't think, as Georgia does. When you look at all the weapons that Georgia has, when you look at the running game that Georgia has, when you expect more in the development of a Jacob Easton, which is where this all comes down to. You need to look at all of those things and go, okay, the upside, the potential is clearly in favor of Georgia. Right? The safer pick here is Florida. Florida, to me, is probably more likely to win the East. However, Georgia could win the East, and Georgia could win the East big. They have that level of potential. And so now you have to choose here. You've got to choose between the school that's steady, that's even. We know how high they can go. It's not that high, right? Like, we know what it looks like if Florida shows up in Atlanta again and they run into Alabama again. They get whacked again, right? But if it's Georgia and the running game is the running game that Georgia has, and Jacob Easton develops into a guy that we all believe he could develop into, then suddenly we're not looking at a team that shows up to play Alabama and gets whacked. Maybe they do. But we don't know. We know Georgia can be very, very good. What we don't know is how good. And for me, maybe I am a little bit of a gambler on that, but I like the potential. I like looking at the upside. So I just think it's interesting that the coaches did not go potential and upside in LSU versus Auburn. They chose consistency. They chose the school with the quarterback that's average, with the guy that gets the job done. No, he doesn't win you games, but he doesn't lose them for you either. That kind of guy. That's who they went for. And then you go the other direction with Georgia, Florida, and go, we're going to take the school that could just implode, right? Because Georgia has that potential. Georgia has, as far as the spectrum goes of what this season could play out to be, Georgia, I think, is as likely to just fall to pieces as they are to soar incredibly high. The issue here is that they're probably going to soar incredibly high. I believe in Jacob Easton. I do. I think the guy got thrown out there as a true freshman quarterback, and I don't think he should have been, right? At some point, you do have to look at him and go, what do we have in the guy? But he got tossed out there halfway through the first game when we were all looking at him and going, well, maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't play. Look, people have told me this, right? In this area that people have watched Georgia for years and years and years and years, longer than I have told me, Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback prospect they've ever seen. And Matthew Stafford didn't start as a true freshman. I think throwing him to the Wolves did give him a lot of legitimate experience, did give him a lot of good things, but I think as well, what it did was it gave him an opportunity to look bad. Does he work better now? Does he look better now? A year under his belt, a little bit more experience. He's already been able to see his mistakes. And I think it works out for Georgia. I do. I think it works out for Georgia. I like Auburn a little bit more than I like LSU. Maybe I'm just one of those guys that's very high on Jarrett Stidham, but I did watch him for like the 2 games that he played at Baylor, and I was stunned. So, moving on here, I'm going to jump to the NBA a little bit because Michael Jordan is one of the more competitive guys that we have known to exist on this earth. And Michael Jordan was asked a question about whom he thought was the better basketball player. Was it Kobe Bryant or was it LeBron James? Now, I watched both guys. Was a big Kobe fan. I had a Kobe Bryant poster on my wall growing up in my room. And as a person with 2 functioning eyeballs, I can tell you that LeBron James is a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. But the reason given by Michael Jordan, and it's a reason that I thought was just crazy in every sense of the word crazy, is that Kobe has 5 championships and LeBron only has 3, and that 5 is greater than 3. So Michael Jordan doing the math on that one, that's what he would say is the greater basketball player. Now, I can tell you, and if you've listened to this show before, you know how upset this makes me, this idea that having more championships than somebody else somehow makes you a better basketball player than them or a better athlete in a team sport. Okay, if you want to stand here and tell me, well, Roger Federer's a greater tennis player than Rafael Nadal because he's won more majors, then go on ahead, because that's an individual sport, right? We're still talking about an individual sport. I still think it's idiotic because you have to take into account like the person's level of competition. If you dominate something where the level of competition is not that high, I am simply not that impressed as someone who struggled against a higher level of competition. Maybe that's just me, but whatever. Dominating something that's not that hard to dominate, I'm not as impressed. But that makes more sense to say one player in an individual sport is better than another player in an individual sport and cite championships as the reason why. In a team sport, it's just silly. It's just absurd. And I understand that basketball is one of those team sports where individual players have more control than anybody else. But let's be completely honest with you here. Let's be completely transparent. There is no universe in which LeBron James is a worse basketball player than Kobe Bryant. Prime LeBron James is the person I would take over prime Kobe Bryant 10 times out of 10. And I understand where Jordan is coming from, but I also don't think it's insane because Michael Jordan is a guy whom we have given GOAT status to. We have given greatest of all time status to Michael Jordan, who has 6 rings. You realize that there are people with more than 6 championships in NBA history, right? Bill Russell's got 11. Robert Horry's got 7. And I know that if you asked Michael Jordan who the greatest basketball player of all time was, Michael Jordan would say himself. He would say himself. And he wouldn't say, well, it's Bill Russell, because when last I counted, 11 is greater than 6. Well, I'm not going to say it's Robert Horry, because when last I counted, 7 is greater than 6. You're going to use the fact that Michael Jordan is simply a greater basketball player than Robert Horry, because you've seen it with your eyes. You've seen Michael take over games. You've never seen Robert Horry take over a game. You've seen Robert Horry make big shots. You've seen Robert Horry be an instrumental role player on a number of different teams. Robert Horry with the Rockets. Robert Horry with the Lakers. Robert Horry with the Spurs. Robert Horry's been all over the place. Don't get me wrong. Robert Horry has been absolutely instrumental But Robert Horry's not a greater basketball player than Michael Jordan. Like the ring counting argument never holds up when you compare the wrong people. Okay? And comparing LeBron James to Kobe Bryant is comparing the wrong people. LeBron James is leagues better than Kobe Bryant in terms of making a team better. Right? He is leagues better in terms of carrying bad people onto title runs. He is. It's not even close. And it's funny that Michael Jordan brings up the ring counting argument, which is an argument that somehow only helps him and never hurts him. Is that not absurd? Michael Jordan counting rings is an argument that only helps Mike and never hurts him. We've never had a guy whose status is so legendary, we can't touch it even with logic until Michael Jordan, right? Other sports have this. Other sports have the person that you can't touch their legacy with pure logic, right? Soccer has Pele. You can't touch it with pure logic. Baseball has Babe Ruth. You can't touch his status with pure logic. And basketball's got Michael Jordan, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked that sport made it all the way to the 90s without a person like that. Without a person whose legacy is so massive and so towering and so overpowering that even with basic logic, you cannot fight Michael Jordan. Now, we are coming back around to it, right? Where it's okay to hate on Michael Jordan a little bit. We are getting to the point in the culture where people can look back on Michael Jordan and go, let's be a little bit critical here. But Michael Jordan's still the greatest basketball player of all time. Which is something that I do waffle on, right? Because I sometimes want to say it's LeBron. I watch LeBron play, and I'm like, how is it not this guy? And then I go back and watch Michael Jordan, right? And there's hours and hours and hours of footage on Michael Jordan. There's enough tape out there on the guy. You can go find whole games on YouTube. So this is not something where I'm just watching clips on YouTube. It's not like a 5-minute highlight reel. You can go back and watch whole games and find them and learn about them and watch them in their entirety and read books and put them in their historical context, which I do try to do. Right? And I was alive for some of the Michael Jordan era as well. So I get it. Michael Jordan wasn't just good, he was great. And when you say he's the greatest of all time, like, I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm just saying, for Michael Jordan to say that it's Kobe and not LeBron speaks to not the fact that proves that Kobe is actually better than LeBron. Because like everything that Michael Jordan says is not gospel. But what that speaks to is the fact that Michael Jordan just likes Kobe better. He likes Kobe better for a couple of reasons, right? Kobe is the player that simply stole all of Michael Jordan's moves. He remixed Michael Jordan. He was the remix of Michael Jordan, as Jalen Rose likes to say. And it worked. It worked, and we accepted it, and we embraced it because, hey, when the greatest basketball player of all time chooses to retire and goes away, and then there's another guy that plays just like him, that has the same mentality and the same mindset and the same competitiveness and the same intensity, you know what? We accept it. We hated to see the original go. We'll take the sequel. Right? So Michael just likes Kobe better. But then there's the other part of it too, which is that using Kobe to put distance between him and LeBron means that there is no universe in which LeBron can ever catch Michael Jordan. And if you don't think that Michael Jordan has thought that all the way through, you don't know how competitive Michael Jordan is. Michael Jordan has thought this all the way through. Michael Jordan has figured out a way to completely and successfully keep his legacy safe from LeBron, which is barring LeBron somehow finding a way to defeat the Warriors, not once, not twice, but 3 more times over the rest of the prime of his career. Barring LeBron successfully managing to do that, Michael's legacy is always, always, always going to be safe from him. Always. Which is brilliant. Wonderful tactical move by Michael Jordan. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Ryan Tannehill is injured. We'll talk about where the Colin Cowherd is going to head to next.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news. Now.
The couple says they were robbed at gunpoint on Van Buren Street in Hamilton County. All they wanted to do was buy some weed. They were waiting in a parking lot, according to their testimony, when they say a Honda Civic pulled up with a white male driver and a black male passenger. The black male exited the car, pointing a gun at them, demanding their money. He left after being given just under $50. The couple says they knew the white male driver, identifying him as Jonathan Ivey, who's now been arrested. Bradley County detectives responded to a report of a child that had been burned and taken to the hospital, but they had to pull back after discovering the case was actually out of Polk County. Detectives there now investigating. Major job loss in the Chattanooga area. U.S. Express laying off nearly 100 employees. They say no drivers will be affected by the cuts. The reason is a shift in a business model. The corporate communications director says that it's a difficult decision. Russell Stroud, Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic,
news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies out there through your nighttime hours, mild again overnight, lows into the upper 60s. For Thursday, some sunshine, highs upper 80s to near 90, just a slight chance of a spotty late shower or storm with scattered showers and storms more likely. Friday, highs mid-80s. Good news for folks who love fried chicken. KFC's original recipe fried chicken has been and always will be delicious. Get it for lunch in a $5 fill-up. That's KFC. It's still finger-licking good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
Have the best steak selection in town. The name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the #1 news centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Watching Keon Rose's show, Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com is that their website. So, really quickly, I want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks because I was looking at their roster, and I think Coach Bud might have ruined the Atlanta Hawks. And I say this as a guy that I was over the moon when they hired him because he's a Spurs assistant. Anytime you can hire somebody off of that Greg Popovich coaching tree, do it. Do it because it mostly works out well for people. Not always, but it does work out pretty well for people, right? Steve Kerr, who's now the Warriors head coach, came from the Popovich coaching tree. Mike Brown, who's the Warriors assistant coach, coaching tree, right? Like from the Greg Popovich coaching tree, you can attach a lot of really, really high-level guys and really good coaches, right? I forgot the name of the coach over in Philadelphia with the Sixers, who is actually a good coach. Brett Brown with the Sixers is a really good basketball coach who just happens to be coaching in a horrible situation with a team that can't stay healthy and all these young guys. So it doesn't look good for his record. But, that's part of their process, and they're working on it that way. They're choosing to be bad in order to draft well and eventually be good. So there's that, I guess. But anytime you can get a guy from the Greg Popovich coaching tree, I would highly recommend that you go do that. And that's exactly what Atlanta did. They got Coach Mike Budenholzer and Coach Bud. Since then, I think has done a phenomenal job coaching. Okay, in the aspect of coaching, I would not say that Coach Bud has ruined this basketball team. I think he's done a pretty brilliant job of it in terms of getting the most out of talent. That first year that he was here, and the Hawks won 60 games, and they were the number 1 seed in the playoffs, and gave the Cavaliers a pretty decent fight, and were it not for a couple of injuries, might have pushed them further even. I don't know that they necessarily beat the Cavs and LeBron, but history could be very different in that way. Instead, they lose, and they haven't been the same since. Like, the team has just been getting worse every year. Coach Bud has he's pushed through a number of trades that I don't think make any sense. I think that he also has signed some free agents that you scratch your head. And I was looking at the roster. Someone on Reddit actually pointed this out. Was that the Hawks roster was once a solid roster, and now it might be the worst roster in the NBA. That Dennis Schroeder is their starting point guard. Well, I like him. I think he's going to be good. He'll be fine. He can't really shoot, but that's not a big problem if you put guys around him who can shoot, which does seem to be the philosophy of Coach Bud. Then Kent Bazemore, then Taurean Prince, then Ersan Ilyasova, and then Justin Dedmon. And I look at this and I go, this is a terrible roster. And I like all of these guys as role players. But someone's going to have to step up and be the star. And who's that going to be? Schroeder? Bazemore? Prince? Ilyasova? Dedmon? Have you heard of any of these people outside of Schroeder? I mean, this is not an NBA team. This is a bad team. And there's no getting around it. There's no working backwards from it. This is a bad basketball team. I like Coach Bud as a coach, but I think Coach Bud might have ruined the team. Because when they hired Coach Bud, one of the things that they did was that they gave him the powers of the president of basketball operations. And I am always, always wary when teams allow guys to do that. That when you allow a guy to be able to make basketball decisions off the floor, right, in terms of building and designing a team, building and designing a roster, I usually am not a fan of when coaches have this ability, because perfectly good coaches wind up being put in a position that they're not competent enough to handle, right? We saw it happen with the Clippers. The Clippers have been imploding every year since Doc Rivers arrived. Why has that been? Because Doc Rivers is not a bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's a little overrated, but he's certainly not a bad coach. Why have the Clippers always been imploding? They've been imploding in some part because Doc Rivers was given basketball operation powers, and he shouldn't have it. He shouldn't have it. He did such things as trade for his son, bring in the very old and very injured Paul Pierce. I mean, this is not a guy that's good at the off-the-court stuff. In terms of motivating players, in terms of X's and O's, yeah. Give me Doc Rivers for a lot of it. Give me Doc Rivers for a lot of it. When it comes to managing the team, building the team, designing a roster, trying to figure out free agency, don't give me Doc. Give me somebody else. And don't give me Coach Bud either. Otherwise, you take a team that was once a 60-win team and you give me Schroeder, Bazemore, Prince, Ilyasova, and Dedmon, apparently. You know, there's a principle in business management called the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle is a concept formed by Lawrence J. Peter in 1969, and then he published it then, which states that if you select a candidate for a position, the candidate's performance in their current role, they can be promoted to a certain point. And then when someone starts to appear incompetent, it's not that they've become incompetent, right? Like a person who is doing a really good job as assistant manager might do a really bad job as a manager. Because their job as managers, their level of incompetence. Right? If you select a candidate for a position and it's based on the candidate's performance in their current role, it doesn't have any bearing on whether or not they'll be better at a higher role higher up in the company, right? Which is to say that a coach and a general manager, or a coach and a president of basketball operations, simply because one is a good coach doesn't necessarily mean that that person will be good at basketball operations. Right? And we've seen it time and time again, where guys who are good players end up being front office guys and they're terrible at it. Guys who are good coaches wind up being front office guys and they're terrible at it. I think Coach Bud is one of those guys that should have just been a coach. Like, if they had a Coach Bud and then they also hired a president of basketball operations and allowed those two people to be separate people, I think that would be great. Because we saw it with Coach Bud. Good coach. I don't know if he's the best president of basketball operations. Doc Rivers. Good coach. I don't think he's the best president of basketball operations. Phil Jackson. Great coach. Genius coach. One of the greatest coaches of all time. Horrible, horrible GM. Just the worst GM we might have ever seen, which we now have to talk about in his legacy when we talk about Phil Jackson. Might be one of the worst we've ever seen. Because of the Peter principle. Phil Jackson got promoted beyond his level of competence. That simply because the man understood how to coach great basketball players does not mean that he knows how to find great basketball players. And I believe that the president of basketball operations and the GM should be a separate person from the head coach of the basketball team. Right? Because it is that separation of powers that Mike Wilbon likes to talk about, where the coach's job is to win games today. The GM's job is to construct a winning team for the future, for the next 5 to 10 years. And the owner's job is to own the team and have that run successfully for as long as they own the team, which could be their entire lives. Right? I mean, and separating those timelines is important because they don't all require the same level of decision making. And the decision you make to win today might cost you a decision to win 4 years down the road. And the coach and the GM need to work that out and figure out which is more important. And when you have both of those guys in the same body, usually, a wrong decision winds up being made. Not all the pros and cons get looked at. A basketball team is a business. It runs exactly like any other business. You can have someone in a position for which they're not qualified. And Coach Bud is qualified to be a coach. Coach Bud is not qualified to be a front office executive. And when you have that guy be both guys, you have what happened with the Hawks, which is that a very good basketball team got reduced into a very bad basketball team. Are you serious? Schroeder, Bazemore, Prince, Ilyasova, and Dedmon. Get out of here. Get out of here. That team can't win anything. The Hawks are going to be terrible next year. Clutch with Keon Rosen, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. We're going to change things up here, jump on over to the NFL. The NFL, by the way, is 38 days away. Just try and hang on to the scale of that in your head. It is 38 days away. We're almost there, guys. The summer was long. The summer was tough. There's no football, but we almost made it. We almost made it. Ryan Tannehill of the Miami Dolphins, the quarterback of the Dolphins, injured his knee in practice today. He ran out to the sideline. He took an awkward fall. The MRI suggests that the damage is done to his left knee and that he's not out of the woods just yet, which means that there's another quarterback opening. And you know what that means? We now have to talk about our boy, Colin Kaepernick, because the Miami Dolphins, according to reports, are talking about bringing in Colin Kaepernick because their option at backup quarterback is Matt Moore. And while Matt Moore is not a bad backup quarterback, he is Matt Moore, right? Which is to say that Colin Kaepernick is better than him. And we don't know how bad the Tannehill injury is just yet. Keep in mind that the Miami Dolphins were a football team last year that greatly overachieved in a lot of different ways and found themselves in position to make it to the playoffs. And I believe actually did make it to the first round of the playoffs and not wild card. The Dolphins don't want to go backwards. We say this all the time. People don't like to go backwards. If you are driving a fancy car, if you're driving a Jaguar or a BMW, nothing in life would hurt you more than to go back to driving a Civic, right? Nothing would hurt you more than to go back to driving a Corolla or an Elantra, right? Because why? Because you got used to being in the lap of luxury everywhere you drive. You don't want to go back? The Dolphins don't want to go back to not making the playoffs. They live in a division that the Patriots run and still somehow manage to win enough football games to be a playoff contending football team. Which means if you end up losing Ryan Tannehill for any substantial amount of time, you are going to have to rely on Matt Moore to actually go out there and win you football games. And when you consider the fact that Colin Kaepernick is available, it starts to get a little bit tempting. Colin Kaepernick is the guy that threw for 16 touchdowns last year and 4 interceptions, and he started part of the way through the season. Okay? He played good football. Not great football, I might point out, but good football. And certainly capable of playing better football than Matt Moore, better football than Ryan Mallett. And those are the two guys who would be starting if Flacco's not ready to go for the Ravens at the start of the season, and if Tannehill's not ready to go for the Dolphins at the start of the season, right? Now, there is some speculation that the reason why you might be kind of jerking Colin Kaepernick around if you're Baltimore is that there's a distinct possibility that you could bring in Colin Kaepernick and he could be better than Joe Flacco, which I don't think anybody wants to acknowledge that. Nobody wants any of those problems. But you don't have that problem with Tannehill, right? Like the Dolphins have plunked down a decent amount of cash into Ryan Tannehill, and he has been more or less successful with that football team. So you would be bringing Colin Kaepernick in to be a backup, which means if you are one of those people that is suggesting that Colin Kaepernick is not being blackballed from the NFL and that race has nothing to do with it, especially the stance that he particularly took, the stance that offends police, then what you're essentially saying is that teams with openings are simply not signing Colin Kaepernick because what then? He's available. He's available. And what most teams have going on at backup quarterback, it's not better than him. It's not better than him. Like this race does have to play some part in it because those guys are not better than he is. He is better than Matt Moore. We know he's better than Ryan Mallett. You might be better than Ryan Mallett, right? I know in a NFL practice, I might check down every play before I go out there and throw 5 interceptions. You might be better than Ryan Mallett, much less Colin Kaepernick. The Ravens, rather than sign Colin Kaepernick, signed some dude off the street that was currently selling insurance because he played 1 game in college. By the way, his college career yard total is negative yards, which means that you, sitting in your car or sitting in your job at home or about to have dinner with your family, you've thrown for more yards in college than the guy that they chose to sign. Now, you can tell me that race doesn't play any part of this, but I have trouble believing that. I do. This is not about the troops. It isn't. I mean, people have said, it's about the troops, but it's not about the troops. You know how I know it's not about the troops? The troops have said it's not about the troops. So many military members came out and said, hey, we're not offended by this, that at some point we have to start dropping that narrative. It doesn't make any sense. They don't agree. Right? I'm not not a person who was offended by this. My dad was in the military for many, many years. I was not offended by this. This is not in any way offending to the troops. Someone is pushing that narrative. They're wrong. So then what is this about? This is about Colin Kaepernick making something that's not about race. And in fact, an escape from all of those problems about race. And it makes people uncomfortable. And it makes fans uncomfortable. And fans don't want to think about it. And fans don't want to talk about it. And ownership are afraid of what fans will do, which is crazy. And you know why this is crazy? Because fans watch football through everything. We watch football through everything. I have found it difficult to stop watching football for a variety of reasons. But I feel like at this point I should stop watching football, right? I should stop watching football because wife beaters have been signed to teams. I can stop watching football because people who drive under the influence have been signed to teams. You know, the Redskins signed a guy that Dante Stallworth that drove under the influence and killed a pedestrian with his car. Like, that's a pretty good reason to stop watching football. People still watch football. Like, nobody came out there and picketed and rioted. And Dante Stallworth killed a guy. Right? Like, that actually happened. You've got players. We see the research, the CTE that comes from playing football, that players are beating their brains into oblivion, and it hasn't stopped people from watching football, right? Like, these CTE things are disturbing, and we can all look at them and nod our heads and go, yes, that's scary. Yes, that is scary. But where will you be on Sunday? You'll be watching the NFL. Like everybody else. So why is it that this is something, when it's not about the troops, and it's not about Colin's ability to play the game of football? So what's left? So what's left? I think we know what's left. And it's not even about future protests, because Colin said he's not protesting anymore. He said he made his point, and he did very much make his point, because, like it or leave it, right? That the whole point of this entire exercise was to start a conversation about race in America, and especially, and importantly, the police violence surrounding race in America. And we talk about Colin Kaepernick very often, and have been. And might I point out, the point of protest is not to make people comfortable. You cannot do a protest in a nice way. You cannot do a protest like people are like, oh, keep that politics out of my football. I don't want the politics in my football. You can't have it both ways. You can't have an effective protest in a comfortable space. That's not how protests work. Okay? There's a reason why protesters block up the road. There's a reason why protesters put things in your face. It is to make you uncomfortable and to force you to think and say whatever it is that you want to say about Colin Kaepernick. He succeeded in that. I don't know if he's going to succeed in finding a football team to play for, but he has succeeded in his mission, which is to make every bit and all of us think about what it is that we are doing in this country. Plus with Keon on AM 1240 and 927 FM, I'm going to give you the breakdown of the four-letter network. They did their college football poll. The Amway Coaches Poll also came out today. Be surprised about their Tennessee numbers. Talk about that next. In-depth traffic,
news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Eric Felton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
This is Thomas DeMoss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems could cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is a field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. But by preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family, but it happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. Bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
My name's Trevor Ashley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Ashley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Nadia behind the green door. You've had ice cream and you've had shaved ice, but have you had snow cream? It is amazing. It's light, airy, fruity snowflakes melting on your tongue. You need to come and see us. Highway 58 Green Door next to Hardee's.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with their innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community on behalf of your brand. Cindy's low monthly rate includes advertising, employee management, public relations, and creative marketing strategies that produce. Cindy can bring this all to you at a rate lower than most advertising campaigns and for much less than the cost of hiring a marketing employee. Cindy's Choice is your trusted source, and Cindy will manage it all for you.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I focus on the prospects so you can focus on the projects. Call me at 423-661-4445. That's 423-661-4445. So you can become Cindy's Choice.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio. Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great 40 totes! I'm up north! Gotta burn my boots. They touch Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward, Yankee! What's the handful, Schmansel? My orders from General Lee is to hold the Macy-Dixie line, and no Yankees are crossing. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
WLZHD4 Loa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSTG Sunny Daisy Chattanooga.
The Russia investigation enters a new phase.
The special counsel's impaneled a grand jury.
Prison time for the woman who goaded her boyfriend to kill himself.
The defendant's conduct in this case was egregious.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Pam Coulter. Robert Mueller is pressing ahead with his investigation into Russian election meddling with the Washington grand jury that can subpoena documents and witnesses. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
The Wall Street Journal reports the grand jury was impaneled weeks ago to hear testimony from witnesses and serve as a tool for the special counsel to subpoena documents. The notion that he's working with grand jurors indicates the investigation is only ramping up, not winding down. On the job since mid-May, Robert Mueller has hired a number of attorneys to help him, including most recently a New York-based lawyer who specializes in foreign bribery cases. The White House and the president's private attorneys stress they have no reason to believe the president is under investigation.
CBS News senior legal analyst Andrew Cohn.
You don't usually impanel a grand jury unless you think there is probable cause to believe a crime or crimes have been committed. So that should be the starting point here, that the special counsel has found enough evidence of something against someone that he believes warrants a look from grand jurors. So it is not good news for the White House, and probably the last thing the president wants to hear as he leaves for his summer vacation.
Leaked transcripts of phone calls show President Trump pressured his Mexican counterpart to stop saying Mexico would not pay for his promised border wall. And he blamed drugs coming over the border for turning New Hampshire into a drug-infested den. New Hampshire Senator Maggie Hassan.
They are disgusting comments. They are outrageous. Instead of insulting people, the president should be rolling up his sleeves with the rest of us and helping us get the resources we need to defeat this epidemic.
In Massachusetts, 20-year-old Michelle Carter was sentenced to 2.5 years behind bars for involuntary manslaughter in the death of her boyfriend. She had sent Conrad Roy III dozens of text messages urging him to kill himself. 13-year-old Camden Roy.
Not having my brother always going to be there for me and knowing that will always haunt me. Knowing I'll never be an aunt to Conrad's children or get to see him getting married is something I never thought I would have to live with.
The judge suspended all but 15 months. Usually known for its cool weather, the Pacific Northwest is having another day of triple-digit temperatures. KXL's Rosemary Reynolds in Portland.
You open the door, it's like a blast furnace. We've reached almost 56, 60 days with no rain. this heat wave is supposed to end possibly Friday. And when I say end, it'll be below 100 degrees.
The Dow up 9 points today to stay over 22,000. NASDAQ slipped 22. Now this.
This is a court-ordered notice. Current and former BMW, Mazda, Subaru, and Toyota owners or lessees can receive payments and other benefits from a legal settlement related to allegedly defective Takata airbags in their vehicles. To see if your vehicle is included and to file a claim, go to autoairbagsettlement.com or call 1-888-735-5596. That's autoairbagsettlement.com or 1-888-735-5596.
Mortgage is 3.25%. APR 3.75%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the third year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
The Trump administration is turning up the heat on cities that don't crack down on illegal immigrants.
At issue is a federal program which provides help to local officials in solving drug trafficking and gang crime in their communities. 4 cities, including Baltimore and San Bernardino, expressed interest, but DOJ officials say unless they drop the sanctuary city status and cooperate with federal immigration authorities, those cities would be ineligible for the public safety partnership. The 4 cities have 2 weeks to show that they are in compliance with the federal request for cooperation. Bill Raycott, CBS News, Washington.
President Trump welcomed doctors to the White House today to highlight the effort to use technology to improve veterans' health care.
This will significantly expand access to care for our veterans, especially for those who need help in the area of mental health.
More than 700,000 vets were served by telehealth programs last year.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio. Chattanooga Radio. AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news. Now.
A suspect added and a suspect taken off of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office top 12 most wanted list. 27-year-old Charles William Cobb is wanted on 2 counts of aggravated robbery. He's described as being 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing about 200 pounds, medium complexion, facial hair, and shoulder-length dreadlocks. Taken off the top 12 most wanted list, Corey LaShawn Carter, who was arrested on charges of rape, is being held in the Hamilton County Jail on $25,000 bond. He was taken in during a routine traffic stop. The arresting officer noticed who he was and immediately took him into custody. A similar story out of Cleveland, where the police department there says 23-year-old Trent Donnelly Sice is wanted on active warrants of aggravated rape and aggravated assault. Details are still being withheld due to the sensitivity of the case to protect the victim's ID. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio. AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies out there through your nighttime hours, mild again overnight, lows into the upper 60s. For Thursday, some sunshine, highs upper 80s to near 90, just a slight chance of a spotty late shower or storm with scattered showers and storms more likely. Friday highs mid-80s. Good news for folks who love fried chicken. KFC's original recipe fried chicken has been and always will be delicious. Get it for lunch in a $5 fill-up. That's KFC. It's still finger-licking good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Now, me being a radio guy, I'm really not good with vehicles. Never changed my own oil. Can barely change a tire. And sometimes when I hear it clanking, I just turn the radio up louder. Not a real good idea. So I need to be able to trust someone when they look at my vehicle. Well, I found the guys. Locally owned and operated here in Chattanooga. It's Precision Tune Auto Care. They're your neighbors. There's 3 locations in Chattanooga. And since they're Nooga Radio's official oil change center, they're going to extend the great deal they give to us to you. Just $20 for a standard oil change. Can you imagine that? $20 for a standard oil change. You're in and out in no time. $20 for a standard oil change at Precision Tune Auto Care. And they treat all of their customers like family. With show and tell, they'll show you what's wrong, point out the problems, and tell you exactly what it will take to get fixed. They really do have pride in what they do at Precision Tune Auto Care. Precision Tune Auto Care with 3 locations. 2125 Gun Barrel Road, Chattanooga. 4221 Hickson Pike and Highway 58 next to Dunkin' Donuts.
Call 602-5955. That's 602-5955.
Precision Tune Auto Care.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240, 92.7 FM. Plus Keon Bros is the show. New radio station. And NoogaRadio.com is our website. This is hour number 2 of the show. And I am pretty excited about the coaches poll that came out, in large part because it's just more football stuff. Like, I'm ready for football to be here. I will take anything. Whatever scraps that they are willing to throw in my direction, that is exactly what I'm willing to take. And I'm not, I'll bury my pride for it. But one of the things that is interesting to note about the coaches poll, because I looked at the ESPN poll earlier today, and I laughed myself out of my chair. It's a joke. Alabama's 1, Auburn's 11, Florida's 14, Georgia's 17 on the poll. No LSU on that poll, and no Tennessee. The coaches poll, to me, is the more accurate of the two polls, at least when it comes to breaking down SEC schools. Alabama's number 1, LSU is number 12, Auburn's 13, Georgia's 15, Florida's 16, and Tennessee is 24, which I think is a good place for Tennessee. Is Tennessee one of the top 25 schools in the nation? I believe so. Yes, I do. And I don't think that that's particularly controversial. In fact, I find it to be more disrespectful to not have Tennessee in the top 25 than it is ridiculous to have them on the list at 24. Because Tennessee, they have lost a lot of star power, okay? And I will grant that as a reason for not believing in this team. And Butch Jones, I still think, has a lot to prove, right? He was able to beat Florida. He was able to beat Georgia. That's huge. He still needs to beat Alabama because that's just how things work in the SEC. You don't beat the rivals. You don't have a job for very long. And Butch Jones was supposed to win the East last year with the Vols, was not able to get it done, and then said a bunch of things that made it seem as though he did not understand the gravity of what it was that he was talking about. Even though I do feel like Butch Jones understands the gravity, he just likes to hide behind cliches and platitudes as though that would actually work. It doesn't, but I can understand why he would do that. Now, with that said, I'm not necessarily one of these people that believes that Tennessee is going to take this massive step backwards this upcoming season. I think Tennessee wins about 8 games. I looked at their schedule. I find 8 games in there that they can win, and not barely win. I think they can legitimately win some of these games fairly handily. And they do return a number of starters. Todd Kelly Jr. comes back as a starter. John Kelly's going to be able to start at running back. And I'm looking forward to that. He's a big guy, 5'9", 205 pounds. And just, we haven't seen him. Like, that's the thing. We haven't really seen what he can do. But in practices, dude looks strong. Darren Kirkland Jr. at linebacker, and Jay Sean Robertson on offensive line. 6'3", 300 pounds. So, I mean, we're talking about a school that's returning a number of talented pieces. Tennessee's returning a lot of upperclassmen. I believe more upperclassmen in the SEC East than anybody not named Kentucky. So they're going to be doing a lot this season. This idea that they're going to take this massive step backwards is because of the stars that they've lost. That they've lost Dobbs and Reeves Maben and Alvin Kamara and people of that nature. But that to me doesn't indicate a step back, because new stars emerge in your place if you recruited well. And if there's one thing that we've known about Butch Jones, and like one thing that we consistently do like about Butch Jones, is that he does recruit well consistently over and over and over again. Like looking at Tennessee's schedule, I think Tennessee is able to beat Georgia Tech, Indiana State. They probably lose to Florida and Gainesville, but they could beat UMass. They got Georgia at home, so I'll give them a win on that. South Carolina, they probably lose to Alabama. I'll give them the win over Kentucky, Southern Miss, Missouri. They probably lose to LSU, and they beat Vanderbilt. That's 8 games. I think Tennessee can legitimately win 8 games this upcoming season. And so, yeah, at 24, given the toughness of their schedule, I think that's a fair ranking. Okay, I think that the East is in play for Tennessee. I just don't think that they ultimately win the East, because I don't think that they win more games than Georgia, and I don't think that they win more games than Florida. But they're not going to take this massive step backwards, and everyone is acting as though Butch Jones is going to be fired. Like this is some foregone conclusion, and I mean respectable college football minds are behaving as though it is a foregone conclusion that Butch Jones is going to be fired and somehow not have a job somewhere, right? I'm talking about Dennis Dodd for CBS Sports, who is a really good writer and a very reliable person. I trust almost anything that I read from Dennis Dodd. You've got Ole Miss licking their chops at the idea that Butch Jones could be available for them to hire this offseason. I don't know where they're getting that from, right? I don't know if you listen to the Athlon Cover 2 podcast, but those guys also believe that Butch Jones is in a position where he could lose his job. And again, I don't know where this is coming from. I think the Tennessee fans are realists. I think realistically, Tennessee winning 6, 7, or 8 games is a realistic thing to expect. Most Tennessee fans that I've talked to expect them to win about 6 or 7 games. The view is kind of pessimistic. So this idea that Butch Jones is just going to get run out of town. No, you get run out of town when we expect you to win, and then you don't win. When you don't win, and we expected that was going to be the case, because it's a down year, you don't get run out of town for that. Okay? And I don't think that Tennessee is going to consult the fans on whether or not that's a thing. Granted, now you've got a new athletic director, so the leash is shorter for Butch Jones. I just don't see them moving on from him. I think the stability that Butch Jones provides is hard to pass up. That he does provide you a culture that you show up and you expect a winning football season at a historical and traditional football power, which is the other thing about the top 25 list that I thought was interesting. Both lists, actually. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. The other thing about the top 25 list that I found to be deeply fascinating was that all the teams on the list were the traditional powers, right? You've got the traditional SEC powers: Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. You've got a number of traditional powers from the Pac-12, including Stanford and USC. You've got your Big 12 traditional powers, including Oklahoma, and Texas somehow made the list. In fact, Texas was above Tennessee, ranked number 20, which I thought was surprising because I think Tennessee is better than Texas. And I say this as a Texas fan. I think Tennessee has got a better roster, a more consistent coaching staff than Texas. Texas just got a new head football coach. And we don't know if the incumbent starter, Shane Buechele, is going to even be solid in that system. There's so much we don't know about Texas. The idea that Texas is somehow ranked higher than Tennessee is a little bit crazy. But it is one of those situations where I think the media is tired of getting punked. Like, the media is just a little bit tired of picking all of these wild, outlandish picks and going, hey, we think that Eastern Illinois State's going to make some noise this year, and then just being absolutely disappointed. What the media likes is to be right. And so it's one of those situations where I don't know if you've ever filled out your NCAA bracket before and got burned one year and just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go straight chalk next year. I'm just going to pick all the number 1 seeds and just let that be that. Because that's what I did last year. I went straight chalk last year, and little did I know that burned me too. You can't win with this stuff, but that's how the media is doing it. Like, I think they leaned very heavily last year on the Iowas of the world. Not that Iowa's bad or that Iowa didn't play well, because they did. But they didn't make the noise that everybody thought they were going to make. And I think that leaning on those traditional powers, especially a lot of these schools returning to prominence, like your USC and so forth, all of these schools returning to prominence means, yeah, you feel a little bit safer just relying on them and the fact that they have more money, that they can recruit better, that they generally have better coaching than a lot of those other schools. And that even Tennessee on a down year is considered a top 25 program in the nation, like just leaning on the traditional powers, which I'm glad Tennessee's back in the club of traditional powers again. That's nice. I'm glad that they let Tennessee back in the club of traditional powers to lean on. So that's a testament to Butch Jones and what he's done, if anything at all, is that, yeah, Tennessee, that they let y'all back in the club. Which is why it's so hard to move away from Butch Jones. He's so frustrating. He says things like the champions of life stuff. But he's brought consistency. I mean, you can't. Consistency is a very underrated attribute. You don't miss it until it's gone, right? Like Georgia fans are learning this with Kirby Smart and Mark Richt, that you're moving into a second season with Kirby Smart. You didn't know what to expect with Kirby in year one. You still don't know what to expect with Kirby in year two. Maybe he'll improve and be better and get the team to be up to its athletic standards with the talent that they have on that squad. Maybe he won't. You don't know what to expect. The roller coaster is what is unenjoyable. There are no roller coasters with Butch Jones. That is a 9-4 man every year for life. And then maybe if you keep Butch Jones for 7-8 years on a contract, on a 9, and he keeps going 9-4, you have to imagine one of these days he'll get a dynamic enough playmaker, a quarterback that, who knows, you get 10, 11 games in one season and you got a chance to make the playoff. I mean, it's possible. The consistency is what gives you that ability. So as much as I decry Butch Jones and I am upset with him every time he opens his face, he does a lot for the program that cannot be overlooked. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Michael Jordan was asked about which he thought was better, Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, and said that Kobe Bryant was better because Kobe Bryant has 5 NBA championship rings and LeBron James only has 3. And when last Michael checked, 5 is better than 3, which I find to be a little bit silly, given that Michael Jordan is a beneficiary of people deciding with their own 2 eyes that he is the greatest basketball player of all time. That if we use the ring counting analogy, if we used ring counting to determine Michael Jordan's place in the pantheon of greatness, Michael Jordan's not the greatest of all time. It's Bill Russell, right? Bill Russell got 11 championships. Bill Russell won 8 in a row. Now, part of this, I think, is that Michael Jordan has been just clowned on by those 2 guys, Wilt and Bill, his entire career, right? I was listening to some stories about the things that Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain said to Michael Jordan in order to shut him up. And Michael Jordan is a very competitive guy who does not shut up easily. Michael Jordan, who stooped to the level of even addressing whether or not LeVar Ball could beat him in a game, right? This is the same Michael Jordan, who could not even be above that. So Michael Jordan wants to be considered the greatest of all time. I think he does want to be remembered that way. He just doesn't want to be the guy to say it. But certainly none of these new guys are coming and taking anything away from him, right? Like Kobe is not coming up and taking anything away from him, and neither is LeBron. Michael Jordan cannot accept that, right? Mike can accept that Bill and Wilt are better than him, because I've heard stories of the conversations that they've had with him. I heard a story about a conversation that Wilt had with Michael Jordan, where Wilt was saying that everything that they did in the game, they did to make the game harder for me. Every change that they made in the NBA for Michael Jordan, they made to make the game easier for Michael. And that is undeniable. It is undeniable, right? A lot of the rules that happened in the NBA that benefit Michael Jordan happened during Michael Jordan's era. And a lot of the rule changes in the NBA that were a detriment to Wilt happened during Wilt's era. Like they were a direct reaction to both of those players. They made the game harder for Wilt, right? The 3 and the key to make the game harder for Wilt. They opened up the lane. The lane used to be shaped like a key to make the game harder for Wilt. Okay? Goaltending. To make the game harder for Wilt. All of these things that we've seen, like the heavily enforced goaltending. Goaltending was a thing before that, but the heavily enforced goaltending to make the game harder for Wilt. They did all of these things to make the game harder for Wilt, and they did not do these things to make the game more difficult for Michael Jordan, which is why Wilt is like, nah, I'm better than you. I don't know where you thought this was coming from, but I am better than you. And Michael Jordan didn't have a response to that because he knew it was true. And I think Michael Jordan's got a level of respect for the guys that played in an era before him, and he did not have the opportunity to play against those guys, right? He didn't. And I think that the level of respect is there. And Bill Russell has also pumped Michael Jordan, right? Because Michael Jordan and Bill Russell were playing golf one time, and they were on a golf course, and Michael Jordan had just won a title. And he was talking to Bill Russell, and Michael Jordan said, I think I'm a greater basketball player than you. And Bill Russell said, why? And Michael Jordan said, well, when you played, there were only 12 teams in the league. The league was smaller. And Bill was like, yeah. And you know what that means? Because the league was smaller, that we had the league was more condensed. We had more great players in our league per person because there were a lot of great players that couldn't make it in the league. There were only 80 positions available. If you didn't get one of the 80, you weren't in the NBA. You just weren't, right? And as a result, he was telling Michael Jordan, like, there's a title that you have that you wouldn't have won. Because John Paxson was wide open. Michael Jordan passed him the ball. Paxson knocked down the three, if you recall, and the Bulls were able to become NBA champions. Bill Russell was like, Paxson doesn't make it in the league if there's only 12 teams in the league. You don't have that. That guy doesn't even come through for you because he doesn't make it in the NBA. Right? So both of these guys have these retorts that they use to shut up Michael Jordan on a regular basis and are proud of the fact that they have all these retorts to shut up Michael Jordan on a regular basis. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain have the respect of Michael Jordan. Right? Like, Michael Jordan strikes me as a very competitive guy. I don't think that those arguments really would have just ended there if it was anybody else. But because of those guys being who they are and what they mean to the game, Michael Jordan just dropped it. But there's no way that Michael Jordan's about to ever concede any ground to Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. To the point where Michael Jordan is even willing to use Kobe Bryant to fend off LeBron James. Like, we are not about to put on a list of guys LeBron James above Michael Jordan. Jordan will not allow it, right? He's got enough respect for the Bill Russells and Wilt Chamberlains of the world to say, hey, I don't know how good I would have been in your era, right? I didn't get the chance to play against you and Pete Maravich and Jerry West. I don't know. I didn't get the chance to really go up against you, to go up against Early Bird and Early Magic. I didn't really get that opportunity. I don't know how I would have done. But you know what? LeBron James never played me in my prime, and I'm not about to put LeBron above me. Yeah, Michael Jordan. He's that guy. And I can't say that I blame him, is the thing, right? The argument that Michael Jordan is making is the most illogical argument because it is basically saying, look, how can that guy be the greatest of all time? He only has 3 championships. When the greatest of all time is something that we talk about when we talk about a guy's skills. Michael Jordan has become legendary off of winning 6 titles, but we forget, very quickly we forget, that originally Michael Jordan became legendary off of just beating Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan had won 3 championships, we had already decided Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time. Right? Michael Jordan quit to go play baseball, and then they put the statue out in front of United Center. They didn't put it out after he retired. Michael Jordan hadn't gotten to 6 yet. The statue's out in front of United Center with the little plaque in front that says, greatest of all time. Like, we'd already made up our minds. He's it. And he hadn't won 6 yet. Whether or not you are the greatest of all time is not a function of how many championships you have won. It doesn't make any sense. And nobody probably knows this better than Michael Jordan, who, no matter how many times Bill Russell tells him to stand down, deep down inside, Michael Jordan believes that he is a greater basketball player than Bill Russell. I'm not so sure, right? Like, I watch video on all these guys. I go back and try and find old games, rare games that, you know, basketball was not as popular a sport when Bill Russell was playing. It was not as popular a sport when Wilt was playing. Michael Jordan is the reason why the basketball world is as big as it is. So I go back and try and find all these guys, and these guys were brilliant. They were just brilliant. Like, I don't know how it is that anybody with any degree of confidence can say this guy is the greatest of all time or that guy is the greatest of all time, which I understand is very tepid take for a broadcaster to have, right? Like, no, you need to definitively rank things. That's how this goes. But I just am of the mindset that, like, certain people get a seat at the table, right? Certain people get in the discussion of the greatest of all time, and certain people do not get to be in that discussion. LeBron James is certainly in that discussion. He gets a seat at the table. MJ gets a seat at the table. Wilt, Jerry West, Bill Russell, they get a seat at the table. Kobe Bryant gets a seat at the table. Tim Duncan does too. Who doesn't get a seat at the table? Look, I love Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Garnett doesn't get a seat at the table. Right? I love James Worthy, but James Worthy doesn't get a seat at the table. Like, there's certain people we know they don't get a seat at the table. I'd rather do the discussion like that. Who is in the discussion, who is not in the discussion? That makes a whole lot more sense than trying to definitively rank guys. What's with Keon Rose and AM 1240, 92.7 FM?
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader, Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news. Now,
a suspect added and a suspect taken off of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office top 12 most wanted list. 27-year-old Charles William Cobb is wanted on 2 counts of aggravated robbery. He's described as being 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing about 200 pounds, medium complexion, facial hair, and shoulder-length dreadlocks. Taken off the top 12 most wanted list, Corey LaShawn Carter, who was arrested on charges of rape, is being held in the Hamilton County Jail on $25,000 bond. He was taken in during a routine traffic stop. The arresting officer noticed who he was and immediately took him into custody. A similar story out of Cleveland, where the police department there says 23-year-old Trent Donnelly Sice is wanted on active warrants of aggravated rape and aggravated assault. Details are still being withheld due to the sensitivity of the case to protect the victim's ID. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect fair skies out there through your nighttime hours, mild again overnight, lows into the upper 60s. For Thursday, some sunshine, highs upper 80s to near 90, just a slight chance of a spotty late shower or storm with scattered showers and storms more likely. Friday, highs mid-80s. Good news for folks who love fried chicken. KFC's original recipe fried chicken has been and always will be delicious. Get it for lunch in a $5 fill-up. That's KFC. It's still finger-licking good. And I'm Storm Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Belton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation, and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
We have the best steak selection in town. The name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the #1 Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader, Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The #1 pick of the Tennessee Titans, Corey Davis, keeps on the show. Back and goes to the room with those locker rooms with the trainers. Yeah, so that's not particularly great news if you're a Titans fan. Corey Davis is the guy that they drafted to get Marcus Mariota a weapon. You listen to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Yeah, they went after Corey Davis to get Marcus Mariota a weapon, and He went to the locker room with the trainers, which does not necessarily mean anything, right? It doesn't mean that he's in bad shape. It really just means that it's a precaution, so far as I'm aware. We don't know. But here's the thing. A lot of teams have been getting wrecked in practices, right? The Giants have had a number of injuries. I told you about the Ryan Tannehill Dolphins injury. Obviously, the Ravens have Joe Flacco in the back injury. The Texans have assumed some injuries. There have been injuries all over, and I don't necessarily know what's going on in the NFL right now. But maybe people want to just take it easy on this day one or day two, depending on who's gotten to practice so far. Maybe just take it a little bit easy. It's all right. We can push, but we don't have to push all that hard. We don't have to push all that hard. Anywho, keeping it in the NFL, because I just saw something that I thought was absolutely interesting, which is that Tom Brady's turning 40 today. Crazy, right? Tom Brady is turning 40 years old. And what's interesting to note about Tom Brady turning 40 years old is that Tom Brady has won a number of games in his 30s. How many games has Tom Brady won in his 30s? Tom Brady has won more games in his 30s than Troy Aikman has won his entire career. Is that not crazy and mind-boggling, right? Like, Tom Brady has had just a heck of a career, like an incredibly long, illustrious career. Very few guys get to play until they are 40. And I don't know how much more Tom Brady's got in the tank. As I've always said, anytime a guy plays, you play until you can't play anymore. And I'm telling you, if you play until you fall off a cliff, it's not going to be a gradual decline. High-performance athletes, in my experience, watching football, do not gradually decline. You fall off a cliff, right? I got the rest of the stat here. I got the rest of the stat. Here's the rest of the stat. Tom Brady has won more games in his 30s than Terry Bradshaw, Warren Moon, Jim Kelly, Ken Stabler, and Troy Aikman won in their entire careers. Now, the Warren Moon thing's not that surprising because Warren Moon didn't get to start his career in the NFL. Warren Moon went to the CFL because they would not let him in the NFL because he was a black quarterback, which was a problem back then. The idea that a black person could not be intelligent enough to play the quarterback position. So Warren Moon will give the pass. Tom Brady's also thrown more touchdowns, by the way, in his 30s than any of those players have in their careers. Tom Brady has thrown 339 touchdowns, just in his 30s, mind you. We're not talking about 20-year-old Tom Brady. Just in his 30s, Tom Brady threw 309 touchdowns. Warren Moon threw 291. Jim Kelly threw 237. Terry Bradshaw threw 212. Ken Stabler threw 194. And Aikman threw 165. Right now, if you add the 144 touchdowns that Warren Moon threw while he was in the CFL, then yeah, Warren Moon finds himself way above Tom Brady. And also, Warren Moon won a bunch of championships in Canada as well. He won 5 Grey Cups in a row. In a row, when you talk about a dynasty. Right? And I didn't want to turn this into a Warren Moon segment. But Warren Moon is a truly underrated quarterback. He is one of the more underrated quarterbacks ever because of the time that he spent playing in Canada. And Warren Moon, I think, would have won a Super Bowl if he'd been able to play his entire career in the NFL. And it's a shame that we were not progressive enough at that point to really give one of the great quarterbacks in the history of the game a chance. And we don't get to remember Warren Moon as one of the great quarterbacks in the history of the game. But yeah, Tom Brady in his prime, putting up crazy numbers. And it's kind of crazy, but also it speaks to the quality of guys' careers now and the way that the NFL plays offense, which is that we do throw the ball more and run the ball less. And so, yeah, that he does have an advantage on those guys in that way. I don't think that, there are certain guys for sure. I think Jim Kelly would probably be statistically a greater quarterback had he played in today's NFL, because he played in the proto version of today's NFL when you were throwing the ball more and it was more of an up-tempo offense. Jim Kelly in today's NFL would just be gangbusters. It's a great stat that shows how great Tom Brady is, but also it also highlights more than anything how much the NFL has really changed to take advantage of the greatness of a guy like a Tom Brady. Because I don't know that the NFL took advantage of the greatness of a Jim Kelly in the way that they probably could have, right? I don't think it took advantage of the greatness of a Terry Bradshaw in the way that it could have, or Warren Moon even. I hesitate to put Ken Stabler and Troy Aikman in the same class with the other guys, but at least I thought Ken Stabler had ice water in his veins coming down the stretch. I think Troy Aikman's incredibly underrated, or overrated rather. I think Troy Aikman's very overrated. Troy Aikman, the highest amount of touchdowns that Troy Aikman has ever thrown in a season is 20. Right? I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback, an all-time great, but he's an all-time great because he played with an all-time great wide receiver and the all-time great Emmitt Smith in the backfield with him, which I think is worth noting more than anything. Collection Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So I think I misexplained earlier the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle is the idea that you can promote somebody to a level of their incompetence, right? That if you have somebody in an organization or in a company that's really good at doing a job, typically you keep having them do more and more difficult jobs until they fail. And then at that point, you know, okay, that's as high as you can go in this. Fair? Like if I have my car, I drive a Honda Civic. If my Honda Civic drives across some gravel and I'm fine, I might be more inclined to drive across some mud and I might be fine. And then I might drive through some deeper mud and realize that my Honda Civic is in fact a Honda Civic and can't drive through mud like that. Like I pushed the car to its failure point. And we do this with people all the time in companies. You promote somebody. If someone is really good, say they work at a McDonald's, because the business structure of McDonald's is very easy to sort of figure out, which is, and they show up and they are making the food, right? Like they are making burgers and they are pretty good at making burgers. So you promote that person, right? To the point where maybe they are working on the cash register and they still have to make burgers a little bit. And then you promote that person to maybe be an assistant manager, right? Which entails that they still have to help make burgers. They may have to be on the register at some point. And also now they're going to have to do a little bit of paperwork. I'd say they're pretty good at that. So you promote them to manager, right? Like they are at the top of that particular managerial food chain. And now they have to be in charge of people's hours and manage other things. Maybe they're not great at that. You have now promoted them to the point where they are no longer competent. This is known as the Peter Principle. You keep promoting people until they reach a level at which they are no longer competent. I mean, it's just a thing that happens, right? Doesn't mean that they're too stupid to do the job. It just means that you have put them in a position where the thing that you are asking them to do is no longer the thing that they were initially good at. Now, some people do better in higher roles than in others. That also happens. And so the solution to that is to randomly promote people to see who fails and to see who succeeds. Because if you try to simply promote someone based on their past success at a past position, then you are promoting them in a way that does not seem to indicate any particular success in a future position, right? That someone who stinks at a past position might actually be better at a future position. So this is what ends up happening with especially NBA coaches. You don't find that this happens actually in any other league, really, where the front office job, the coach can do both. The coach can be both the president or vice president of basketball operations and the coach, right? And a lot of teams are desperate to get a coach, and so they will offer the ability for a coach to build and construct his own team and coach the team as a way to convince a coach to take a job, right? The Clippers did it with Doc Rivers. The Bucks allegedly did not want to give that to Jason Kidd in Milwaukee. You see it happen again and again. Greg Popovich has a lot of power with the Spurs, but he's not the GM. R.C. Buford is. So you do have, in good organizations, a separation of that power. And I think this is where the Hawks went sideways, right? That Coach Bud, I think, is a very good basketball coach. He gets the most out of talent that on other coached by other guys, maybe they don't do so well, maybe they're not as effective. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Coach Bud should have been president of basketball operations. It's the Peter principle. That's a level beyond his competence there. And he took a team that was capable of winning 60 games under him, under his coaching. A team that was able to win 60 games. And now, let me read you the starting lineup. Dennis Schroeder, Kent Bazemore, Taurean Prince, Ersan Ilyasova, and Justin Denver. I'm not saying it's the worst roster in the NBA. I'm saying it might be the worst roster in the NBA. I can't think of who is worse than this. And how did that happen? How that happened was a guy that was not qualified to be in the front office, had way too much front office influence, and now we have a terrible Hawks team. Like, the Hawks are bad now. Like, even last year, they were partially competitive. They didn't have guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., who, while they underachieved, they were there and contributing. Right? And now you've got a roster where your best player is Dennis Schroeder, who can't really shoot threes. He has become a better shooter, but he is not a good shooter yet. Your next best player is Kent Bazemore, who is solid, but that's a rotation guy. That's a guy that comes off the bench. Right? Taurean Prince is a nice 3-and-D guy, but he can't be the third best player on your team. Ersan Ilyasova? I just have very big problems with how this roster panned out. I have very big problems with how this happened. And to me, it's hard to take power away from guys once they have it, right? Like, it's the thing that we all fear about our governments, is when a government uses a power, right, and it expands its power. The government doesn't like to give back power, right? That was one reason why people were so afraid of Obama using those executive orders. That if you were a Democrat and Obama was using executive orders and you were like, yeah, this is what I want. Now, Democrats are terrified that Trump can use executive orders, but you know what? The precedent's already been set. And if you're a Republican and you're looking at Trump using executive orders and you're like, yeah, when the Democrats get back in office, they're going to be using them too. Like, you have to think about government like this. Anything that you don't want the other guy to use, you shouldn't let your guy use. That's how powers expand. That's how the federal government has gotten to be so large and overbearing, is we've allowed the powers to expand and expand and expand, and understand that they're not giving the powers back once they have it. Right? The Constitution says that only Congress has the right to declare war. But presidents have been essentially declaring war for ages. And even when they get overruled by Congress, go back and read some of the things that they write when they concede the power to Congress. They basically are, when they write it, I forget how the Obama administration wrote that letter, but it was something along the lines of, we are allowing Congress to override us. We are not being overruled by Congress. To essentially maintain the power. They don't want to give it back. That's just how governments work. Well, that's how everybody works, right? Like, Coach Bud is not qualified to really be the president of basketball operations, even though he is in charge and has the ability to make those moves. And even though if you're Atlanta, you want Coach Bud to be your coach in a coaching capacity, you cannot take away the front office powers that you gave him. He won't give them back. Right? Even he should be able to see that this roster is a fraction of what it used to be. Even him. But he ain't giving it back. Nobody ever gives this stuff back. The government doesn't give it back. If you fail to discipline your kids and give your kids too much power in your house, your kids won't give it back. That's how it works. That's how it works. I hate to tell you, but that's the way that it goes down, unfortunately. They do not want to give power back. Who? People, just people in general, specifically in this story, Coach Bud, but people overall don't like to give the power back. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So development in that Kyrie Irving story, very small development in that Kyrie Irving story, which is that the Kyrie Irving trade to the Knicks is effectively dead because Carmelo Anthony does not want to be a Cavalier, not knowing what the situation is in Cleveland, which is smart. And the only thing that Cleveland wants back from New York anyway in return for Kyrie Irving is Kristaps Porzingis. And that's not going to happen because Phil Jackson no longer is the president of basketball operations of the Knicks. Can you imagine if Cleveland dangled this trade out in front of Phil Jackson? You think Phil Jackson takes it? Because I think Phil Jackson takes it. I think Phil Jackson was spiteful enough. I think Phil Jackson was crazy enough to take it, right? Like Phil Jackson was already mad at Kristaps Porzingis. You can build a team around Kristaps Porzingis. Okay, he's 7 feet tall. He's 7'3" actually. He shoots threes. He can play in the post. He rebounds. He defends the rim. You can build a team around that dude. You cannot build a team around Kyrie Irving, who in the fourth quarter of Game 4 and Game 5 of this last NBA Finals, Kyrie Irving was 2 of 17 over the last 2 fourth quarters that he played in the finals from the field. And I went back and watched those shots. They were bad shots, just bad decision-making all around. You can't build a team around that guy. He can be on your team. He can be the second best player on your team. He cannot be the best player on your team. And everybody knows this. You cannot trade Kristaps Porzingis for Kyrie Irving straight up. You lose the deal if you lose Kristaps. Phil Jackson might have done it, though. That's all I'm saying. Phil Jackson is wily and weird and kooky enough to have done it, and spiteful enough to both the way he felt like the Knicks were treating him and spiteful enough to the way he thought Kristaps Porzingis treated him. Phil Jackson might have done it. And can you imagine? Like the entire sports world would have turned on its head at that point. That crazy old guy might have done it. Which to me it makes me a little bit sad that Phil Jackson got fired. That's a missed opportunity for some prime off-season drama right there. Because, yeah, once you say the only thing we want back is the best player on your team for a guy that's not even the best player on our team, that's not going to happen. Like, there's not a whole lot going for the Knicks right now. Kristaps Porzingis is the only thing going for the Knicks. Why on earth would you trade him for Kyrie? Duh. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. I don't know how else to express that in any other way. It's just not going down. Bunch of Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I'll let you know what's going on tomorrow. The Dolphins are in need of a quarterback. Colin Cowherd and Robert Griffin III are available. Which one of those two will they choose? Bunch of Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
This is Thomas Moss with Keller Williams Realty. I am a realtor in Chattanooga. We list and sell homes, work with buyers, work with home sellers. I have been involved in real estate for over 10 years. My background is as a real estate investor. That is what I bring to the table, is that real estate investor mindset. My job is to help you sell your house for the most money, employing the best marketing strategy and walking you through what can be a rather stressful process. So we are encouraging people who are on the fence or even thought about selling their house to give us a call. There's no obligation. We're just here to kind of have a conversation, let people know what the process is like, what the market is like, what values they can expect to receive. We work with buyers as well. I also have a buyer's agent that works exclusively with my buyers because we want to give our clients as much attention as we can. My cell phone number is 423-364-0028. Our website is northriverpropertygroup.com. That's northriverpropertygroup.com. We'd love for you guys to call.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. But by preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family, but it happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
My name is Trevor Ashley. I'm an attorney here with the law firm McCoon, Williams, Ashley, and Stanley. We have a show on Nooga Radio called Legal Bites, where we discuss legal topics of interest to our listeners: estate planning, business formation, and business transactions. Legal Bites, 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Essential oils are an overlooked benefit. They're a remedy for allergies, sinuses, headaches, and sleep problems. Aches and pains? Let me help you live a better life. Hi, Loretta Lynn here. It's a free consult. Call me today. Look, I'll even give you a free bottle of essential oil. 423-605-4719. Loretta Lynn's Essential Oils. They've been around for thousands of years. They can even be an alternative to pesticides in your garden. Call today. That's 423-605-4719 and take control of your health.
Hi, this is Nadia behind the green door. You've had ice cream and you've had shaved ice, but have you had snow cream? It is amazing. It's light, airy, fruity snowflakes melting on your tongue. You need to come and see us. Highway 58, green door next to Hardee's.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate the maze of marketing channels which are necessary in today's marketplace? Are you fed up with spending your time and money on employees who don't perform and marketing strategies that don't produce? Then you need Cindy's Choice. Cindy will solve your marketing problems with her innovative shared marketing management concept that will allow your business to have the benefits of a full-time employee that is actually out building relationships in the community on behalf of your brand. Cindy's low monthly rate includes advertising, employee management, public relations, and creative marketing strategies that produce. Cindy can bring this all to you at a rate lower than most advertising campaigns and for much less than the cost of hiring a marketing employee. Cindy's Choice is your trusted source, and Cindy will manage it all for you.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I focus on the prospect so you can focus on the project. Call me at 423-661-4445. That's 423-661-4445. So you can become Cindy's Choice.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So